October marks the annual Domestic Violence Awareness Month, a time when the nation mourns the many lives lost, celebrates the bravery of those who took the first step towards self-empowerment, and raises awareness about domestic violence issues. But beyond recognizing the plight of the many victims, this is also a time to recognize the individual activists and advocates who sacrifice and risk their own lives to help those trapped in abusive relationships. Leigh Voltmer is one such activist. This native Colombian has helped battered women for over 18 years, and today she shares with us her personal motivations for getting involved with the shelter.
Well, my sister was a battered woman. She was in a very, very abusive situation. And by the time I was 16, I found myself in the hospital on Christmas Eve telling her that if she didn't leave, I would never respect her, which is the wrong thing to say. Anyway, so through years of helping her with her children while I was going to college and helping her get out of situations, I found myself in a volunteer situation. While I was in that volunteer training, they were talking about emotional abuse, and it dawned on me that I had been in an emotionally abusive and somewhat abusive relationship without knowing it. And I, hadn't grown up witnessing that. I had lots of resources. I had graduated from college, and I was so shocked and sort of rocked personally by the fact that I could have been in an abusive situation and not known it, that it changed my view of domestic violence.
Using her personal story, Leigh has worked at different areas in domestic violence advocacy.
Well, I'm an executive director now. So while I've been a victim advocate and I've been a volunteer coordinator and I've been a shelter manager and I've been a court advocate, now my job is to run this organization.
Behind the closed doors of the shelter, Leigh talks about her experience in dealing with a battered woman.
So working with battered women is like working with any oppressed group. You see great courage, and you see great sadness, and you see great fear, and you see great hope, and you see great joy. It's really been a privilege. People, on the outside, or the public, has always been very not understanding this dynamic, and they'd say, how do you do that? That's so depressing. And my answer always is, I've never found it depressing.
Are there any risks attached to this job, or have you ever felt threatened, like going about your daily job?
Other than some situations that I probably shouldn't have been in, because I was kind of a cowgirl advocate in the beginning, I don't feel unsafe at all.
What do you mean by that, like cowgirl advocate?
Well, sometimes when you start this work, I had very little supervision when I was hired, and so although there are rules and standards that we follow and safety protocols as staff, I was in a situation where I would pick up women at their house. I would go to their house. I would talk to their batterer in a court situation. If I saw them in the small town where I was at that time, I would talk to them. Now, we train people not to do that. And some workers cross that line. That's why when they become cowgirl advocates, is when they are taking unnecessary risks and not following our protocol.
Mm-hmm. Any particular instances, experiences that you had on the job here that have left memorable impressions?
I remember one time I was working with this woman in St. Louis, and it was very difficult for her to leave. Well, we went back to the house, and every piece of furniture was gone. And she was from another country and had worked very hard to, make it and get this furniture, and there was no way she was going to be able to bounce back from that. But anyway, I was determined, being a cowgirl advocate, that because this wasn't going to set her back so far that she went back, that we worked together on calling every furniture store in St. Louis that we could and got them to donate one item. And but I'll never forget moving her with my boyfriend at the time into her house, and her making her first meal, which strangely enough was ceviche, and how happy she was with this donated glass top and brass chair. And I've had many experiences like that, but the level of happiness and joy and light and freedom that her children experienced moving into this crappy apartment and eating ceviche on this table is, sort of unquantifiable. And it's the whole reason that you do the work. If you're one of those types of people, is that when you see somebody experiencing freedom for the first time in a long time, it's quite amazing, and it's awe-inspiring.